Alright. So how is everybody this morning? Good? Alright. This morning, I appreciate Jesus. Alright? And not that I don't normally appreciate Jesus. But I appreciate it because Jesus tells us right off the bat why he's telling us this parable. Why he's telling us this story with a point. He doesn't leave us to guess about the reasons behind the story. And what does it say? And you're allowed to cheat. What does it say about why Jesus felt that they needed to hear this parable?
They would always pray.
It says that in verse 1, they need to pray always and do not lose heart. Then Jesus told them a parable about their need to pray always and not lose heart. Tougher question. What does it mean to you to lose heart?
Doubt.
Could be doubt. Discouragement. I heard something over here. Oh, to give up. It was back here, through your voice. Doubt, discouragement, give up. Who here has ever lost heart before? I know I've been there. Just this weekend, Erica and I were out walking our dogs. And, we do, a couple times a day. And we're out walking our dogs, and we ran across our 8th syringe that we've seen since moving here. At first, seeing a syringe shocked us, and it sickened us. And the first needle that we saw, I can remember talking about for the rest of the walk, about how we'd never seen anything like that before. Funny part of that story, we'll divest for just a second. Erica, when we first see it, this is what a wonderful optimist my wife is. We saw this syringe, and I was like, oh my God, that's a heroin needle. And she was like, well, maybe it was just a diabetic who, and I was like, no, they don't throw their needles like out of the car. But so we had this conversation about it. Yesterday, I saw the needle, and I said, watch out for that needle. And then we went on with our walk and our conversation. Like everything was normal. It just didn't even surprise or shock me anymore. And I worry that I've lost heart. That I've become discouraged. That I think that nothing will ever change. And I think that it's easy to do, in the face of problems and tragedies that we feel like we have little control over, all right? Problems that we feel like we have little power to stop, like the disease of addiction, like wars and violence, like neighbors and families suffering from cruel illnesses or getting in senseless accidents. I don't know about you, but in these moments of despair and powerlessness, this is sometimes my prayer. God, why don't you just do something? Zap the drug dealers, right? I know that that's not very Jesus-like, but that's sort of my thought, is that just take them out. Those kids in Aleppo that are getting bombed, stop the bombs, God. Give us a cure to Alzheimer's and other diseases that haunt families. Free people from the bonds of addiction, break them. People are suffering, God. Your people are suffering. Do something. And I think this is why this parable frustrated me. I thought that God was supposed to be the good version of the judge. God would hear our cries and bring justice and healing and hope to those who are in need of help. And yet, for the first time this week, I wondered, where exactly is God in this story? Who is God? I mean, I always assumed, I don't know about you all, but I always assumed that God was the judge. Because God has power and authority, right? I picture God as king, as Lord, sometimes even as a warrior, protecting, serving. And yet, when I think about it, as Lutherans who happen to be Christians, as Christians who happen to be Lutherans, we confess that Jesus Christ is the true revelation of who our God is and how our God acts. If you want to know what God looks like, look at Jesus. Look at Jesus and you will see what God is truly like. And here's my challenge. What kind of God do I see revealed in Jesus of Nazareth? Poor, homeless, vulnerable, serving others, being resisted and rejected, being executed. I have to reconsider who I see God as in this parable. So stay with me here. What if God is the widow? I mean, widows back then were seen as the weakest, the least powerful, least consequential members of society. And Jesus was a nobody, right? Followed by a bunch of nobodies. Women, outcasts, sinners, children, poor people, living in a backwards part of the Roman Empire that was known for nothing good. What is the source of the widow's power? Is it her army? Is it her wealth? What is the source of her power? Persistence. This overlooked, ignored woman pursues the judge and will not give up on justice. And perhaps this is the clearest vision that we get of who God is in the whole of the Bible. God pursues us. You, me, the entire world. Since the very beginning, we've tried to avoid God, right? Genesis, what happens? We take a bite of the fruit, and then what do? We hide. And we ate the fruit in the first place because the serpent, it doesn't say the serpent, it didn't say that it was evil. It says, you will be like God. You will no longer need God. We've always tried to not need God. We've always tried to save ourselves, to hide ourselves in shame when we sin, when we fall short, when we fail. If you think about it, the entire biblical story, Genesis to Revelation, is about our God pursuing humanity with love, grace, and forgiveness. No matter what we do, no matter what we leave undone, God won't give up on us. And we see this most clearly in Jesus Christ. When we reject Jesus, even when we deny Christ, even when we abandon our Lord, even when we kill Jesus, God won't stop pursuing us with his love. We put love to death. We hung the hopes and promises and teachings of God on the cross until they were dead, so dead that they were in a grave. And yet God refused to lose heart. On the third day, Jesus rose from the grave to continue God's pursuit of humanity. Resurrection is the ultimate expression of persistence, right? If dead things will no longer stay dead, what can we say will never change? Over what situations could we possibly lose heart and hope if the resurrection is true? The cross and the resurrection have changed everything. Jesus invites us to live into this new reality where everything and everyone can change, where no one is irredeemable. We too are invited. We too are called to look around us, to find the ignored, the despised, the vulnerable, and to join with them in demanding justice, help, and healing. And you know this. This is why each week you give to ELCA World Hunger Appeal and donate food back in our food cart for our local food bank, and why you've built and planted a community garden, because all of God's children, you know that all of God's children deserve enough nutritious food to live and learn. You know this because this is why you're going up to Glade Run, to paint pumpkins and play flag football and decorate cookies with young men who have been often overlooked because of their mental disabilities and their mental illnesses. This is why you have volunteered to go rafting and kayaking and hiking and biking. This is why you've helped with homework, cooked meals for, and gave money so that 18th, 7th, and 8th graders could learn about leadership skills, so that they can lead their friends and their families and their siblings in making healthier and safer choices in the future. Are we done? Who else's doors do we need to knock on to let them know that God isn't done with them, that God will never be done with them? In 2 weeks, we begin an educational event about the drug epidemic. I know I talked about it in the announcements. I'm going to talk about it again now because I believe it's a life and death issue. I began this sermon talking about how I'm tempted to lose heart over breaking addiction's hold on the lives of our loved ones and our neighbors. After 2.5 years, just after 2.5 years of living here, I'm no longer shocked or saddened to find hypodermic needles on our sidewalks and in our lawns. And yet Christ refuses to leave me here. We may have lost heart. We may have lost hope. But we now know that this is not the end of the story. Come to this education event. Bring family. Bring friends. Bring your neighbors. Bring anyone who is tired of the death and who is desperate to see the new life. The good news, people of God, is that we already know who's won. The gospel is that we know how the story ends. Our challenge is to start living like it's true. Amen.